And I will take your papers. We'll start over here. Pass them all to Elliot. There you go. Practice passing. Thank you. This here, actually, let's go ahead and do our prayer before study, and then I will give yours back, and we will get started. Christ, my Lord, the giver of light and wisdom, who opened the eyes of the blind man and transformed the fishermen into wise heralds and teachers of the gospel through the coming of the Holy Spirit, shine also in my mind the light of the grace of the Holy Spirit. Grant me discernment, understanding, and wisdom in learning. Enable me to complete my assignments and to abound in every good work, for to you I give honor and glory. Amen. Most blessed Lord, send the grace of your Holy Spirit on me to strengthen me, that I may learn well the subject I am about to study, and by it become a better person, for your glory, the comfort of my family, and the benefit of your church and our nation. Amen. All right. Our questions are on page 17. But first, I shall give back your papers. So if there's anything, you guys made some very good observations. Here, this is Kinsley's. Should come in a minute. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. Some really good observations. Finley incoming, Liam incoming. All right. And I know you guys were traveling, and your mom. As long as parents know you didn't do something, that's between you and them. If they think you did it and you didn't do it, that's just wrong. Do that. But they're in charge. We finished the Iliad this week. Congratulations on reading probably the most famous formative piece of literature in all of Western civilization. Whether you enjoyed it or not, you've read it.
I have a question.
I hope that you will read it again someday, and maybe you will enjoy it more. Yes, Liam, fire away.
I was very confused. I thought that the Trojan horse was supposed to be in, and Achilles was supposed to get shot, but neither of those happened.
That's not what this poem is about. And so the war isn't over. So actually, let's just do the last question first, which is just crazy, but let's do it. How does the Iliad end? Henley.
The Trojans buried Hector.
And so they buried, it doesn't say buried, does it? Because they don't bury people.
They buried him.
Yeah, they do collect their bones and put them in an urn. But what is it actually? I can't remember the exact words. Hang on. Oh, it does say buried. And so the Trojans buried Hector, breaker of horses. What do you think is going to happen the next day after this? What happens next? More war. They're going to get up the next day and go out there and kill each other again. Because we know, and by the way, everyone who would have heard this poem in the ancient world, by ancient, I mean the very first listeners already knew the story. They knew. They know who's going to win. And they know there's going to be a whole year before the war is actually over, because it's in the 9th. This happens in the 9th year, and it's 10 years. Does this... I'd like to ask this question now, and then I'd like to ask it again at the end of our discussion, if you guys can remind me. Is this a poem with hope? Does this poem have hope, or is it a rather hopeless poem, do you think? I'm not fishing for a particular answer. And by hope, I could mean individual characters having hope or no hope, but just hope in general. Is human life full of hope, or is it rather hopeless? How did it leave you feeling at the end? I don't usually ask about feelings, but this is appropriate. How does it, you're like, oh, bummer. Or did you feel, oh, I feel satisfied and there was closure? How did it leave you? Miriam shaking your head, no. You didn't feel you had closure? Why not, do you think? What did you want to see that would have made you feel like there was an actual ending and that we can move on from this?
Maybe a little bit more redemption for Achilles, and kind of like in the end he gave him Hector's body to bury, but still just went on this rampage and killed
Yeah,
a lot of people.
yeah. Do you feel like, we're going to look at this closer here in a little while. Do you feel like Achilles has had closure, or is there something still looming over Achilles' head as we leave him? And if there is something looming, what might be looming over his head?
Well, he knows he's going to die.
His mom told him more than once. I mean, he's told other people that, and Hector even told him. And didn't his horse tell him? His immortal horse that has been given the granted just a few times to speak with a human voice. You know, after you kill Hector, you're not long for this world. And he just always, shut up. I don't want to talk about it. It's his reaction. Yeah, and so they buried Hector. So we could say, well, yeah, his parents have closure now because they have his body back, and his body has been sent to the underworld in proper fashion. His shade has been sent to the underworld. His body's been burned. But do they really have closure? Because there's still an army camped out there, and this is not over. And we also know what the Trojans didn't know. This isn't going to end well for them. All right, let's take a look at the other, I'm leaving out my art of the week. I'm going to pass this around because it's kind of a lot to take in from a distance. It's a box. It's a sarcophagus. You remember in the ancient world, as far as we know, usually burning was the thing, but you would collect the bones and didn't really burn, and you put them in some sort of receptacle. And this is from Crete, that long skinny island that's just to the south of mainland Greece, where the Minoans lived. Some of you talked with me about the Minoans a couple of years ago. Morning, Kinsley. We talked about one question, but basically we're just on our art, and I've got your papers here in just a minute. This is a sarcophagus from about the time that the Trojan War would have happened, if the Trojan War happened. And we know something happened. We have a site that's been identified as Troy, and it was taken out, burned to the ground by fire, and we just don't know the details. In your reading guide, I have a little outline about the history of Crete and Minoan civilization, and we may or may not get to that today, so I'm not going to, we'll save that for the end. But this is a fresco. They paint on wet plaster, and the paint soaks into the plaster, and they seem to be, I don't know, I was going to say holding large four-legged animals. We could take a vote on what those are. Oh, Kinsley, here's your papers. And if you have this week's Summa for me, you can just set it there. The Minoans are the predecessors of the group that was Menelaus and Agamemnon and those guys, the Mycenaeans. But these people didn't even speak recognizable Greek, the people who made that sarcophagus. They wrote and spoke in a language that we haven't deciphered yet. Maybe one of you could work on that. Make that your life's ambition. Yeah, you could just set it there. All right. Book 19. Achilles says, before we get to the question here, I want to take a look at something. On page 490, if you have your book with you, you can look with me. If not, that's fine. I'm going to read it. Achilles has decided it's time to stop being angry. Kinsley, if you don't want to have to stare at me through the camera, you can scooch if you want. I don't know a better place to put it. Achilles, time to the fighting. Best friend is dead. But this is what he says in the middle of page 490. For years to come, this is line 72. For years to come, I think, they will remember the feud that flared between us both. Enough. Let bygones be bygones. Done is done. Despite my anguish, I will beat it down, the fury mounting inside me, down by force. Now, by God, I call a halt to my anger. It's wrong to keep on raging, heart inflamed forever. Quickly, drive our long-haired Achaeans to battle now, so I can go at the Trojans once again and test their strength and see if they still long to camp the night at the ships. All right. Done is done. I will beat down my fury. Remember the very first word of this poem, rage. And Achilles says, I'm done raging. Does he seem done raging to you in the next couple of chapters? Miriam, you made a comment about rampaging. Somebody made a comment about rampaging. He fills a river so full of dead bodies that the river god complains that it can't flow properly to its destination. That's a lot of rage. Did he get rid of his rage or did he redirect it? Okay, so, and then you be Achilles now. Only never get so angry that you fill rivers with dead bodies. Don't ever do that. But imagine anger. Have you all been angry at some point in your lives? Maybe not this angry, but angry. Yeah, but good for you if you've never been angry, but I feel like we've probably all been angry. You could redirect it. I'm not angry with this person. Now I'm going to be angry about this. But what happens when that thing gets taken care of, the thing you're angry with? What happens next? You redirect it again and again and again and again and again, unless you learn to deal with it. Does that make sense? You got to deal with the source. And the source really is in you, not the thing that made you angry. I know, Henley. No, it's that jerk that made me angry, but it's not really. It's not really. Did Agamemnon, by the way, don't let me forget, we're gonna talk about the arrangement of our papers should Agamemnon have taken Briseis away. Okay, this is now a rhetorical question. I don't want you to answer it yet. Did Achilles have any other options than to rage and sit there by the ships and not fight? Hold your answer. But we might see an answer to that question later. He's speaking to Agamemnon when he says this. I'm going to beat, okay, not, I'm going to beat down my anger. What does he not say that might be a more healing thing to say? I'm going to deal with my anger, and how might we do that? What might be step one? What is going to be necessary? Somebody does something nasty to you and makes you angry. You're going to have to forgive them. You're going to have to let it go. He does not say, I forgive you, Agamemnon. He says, I'm going to beat back my anger. This is not very satisfying for me. Well, you're still a jerk, but I'm going to beat it back or redirect it and kill as many Trojans as I possibly can. All right. Here's Agamemnon's response. The rest of you Argives, listen closely. Every man of you here, mark each word I say. Often the armies brought this matter up against me, this matter of taking the girl. They would revile me in public. But I am not to blame. Zeus and fate and the fury stalking through the night, they are the ones who drove that savage madness in my heart, that day in assembly when I seized Achilles' prize. On my own authority, true. But what could I do? A god impels all things to their fulfillment. Ruin, eldest daughter of Zeus, she blinds us all. That fatal madness. She, with those delicate feet of hers, never touching the earth, gliding over the heads of men to trap us all. She entangles one man, now another. This translation calls her ruin. Others call it folly or delusion. This daughter of Zeus that just... First of all, what does Agamemnon notably not say?
It's his fault.
I was wrong. I messed up. I'm sorry. Does Agamemnon take any responsibility for this whatsoever? Do we still have a temptation today to blame other people when we do the wrong thing? Is it easy to blame other people? Who's the first person who decided to blame someone else when they got called out for a bad action? Adam, I suppose, because he said, this woman you put here, she gave it to me. And then she said, the serpent, he convinced me. Is it passing the buck on blame? Man, it goes back to the beginning. Ruin, folly, delusion. She just wanders around. She flies around. She just causes trouble. And what can I do? All right. I'm asking this question on the fly because it just popped into my head. Okay, I have no answer. Do you think the world that we've seen in the Iliad, do they believe in free will, or do they think everything's driven by fate? Can you think of any instances to argue one way or the other?
Most of the time they act like it's not free will and it's fate, and it's the gods that are controlling them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, Zeus sent the sign.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know I'm already going to die. I don't get to choose whether I die or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's already predestined.
Yeah. Even, we talked about last week, I think Zeus has those, he says, oh, the Sarpedon, my son, should I let him die? But he's fated to die, but, can I contest the fates? I'm trying to think of someone who makes a decision and just says, this is my decision, and owns up to it. If we're going to go with the fates and the gods make everything happen, can we really blame Paris for taking Helen? Then would that be Paris's fault? If the gods make everything happen. That's not a rhetorical question. Could we blame Paris if the gods made him do it? If Aphrodite made it happen? You want to blame him?
We can still blame him.
You could still blame him. But would he have a good defense?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's really true that the gods made everything happen, he'd have a pretty good defense. He uses that sort of defense against Hector. When one of the episodes where Hector comes in and says, "What are you doing, you lazy lump? Why aren't you out there fighting? Why are you laying around in your bedroom? And you just pretty boy with pretty hair." And he says something to the effect of, "Oh, you know, the gods give the gifts. Don't blame me. Don't blame me because I'm beautiful." There was a commercial that used to say, don't blame me. The gods did this to me. I'm just this way because the gods did this to me. It's kind of twisted. If something occurs to you where you can remember somebody actually making a decision and owning up to it, let me know. Otherwise, we will move on.
I mean, Achilles gets to choose between whether or not he goes and dies in battle or dies at home.
Okay, Achilles never. Okay, that's true, and he even threatens that he is going to leave at one point. Good point. He also seems to make the decision of his own accord not to fight. I don't think there's anywhere, I can't recall a place where Achilles said, "Oh, that crazy delusion that I shouldn't go out and fight." He seems to own up to it. And of course, it not only led to a lot of wounds and deaths, but Patroclus' death, most importantly. That's on him. And I don't think he ever, at any point, "Oh, that horrible goddess woman who led me to withdraw from the fighting." Here, let's take a closer look at what, since I got the page down. Here's how he starts his little speech. "Agamemnon, was it better for both of us after all, for you and me to rage at each other, raked by anguish, consumed by heartsick strife, all for a young girl? Better? Yes, better for Hector and Hector's Trojans, not for the Argives." He doesn't say, "I did the wrong thing." He doesn't say, "I did the right thing." All right. Agamemnon brings everything he promised. And he brings in Briseis, and she sees Patroclus' body and she weeps over him. What reason does she give for weeping over him?
She's his sister, and he helped promise that she was going to marry Achilles.
Okay, they are not related. She's not his sister. How was, we find out in this little speech how Briseis was acquired. How was Briseis acquired?
Achilles killed her brother and dad and stole her.
Achilles, and I think maybe what you're thinking of is she says, maybe you were like a brother or something like this. Okay.
Yeah.
She says, "The husband to whom my father and noble mother gave me, I saw him torn by the sharp bronze before our city, and my 3 brothers, a single mother bore us. My brothers, how I loved you. You all went down to death on the same day. But you, Patroclus, you would not let me weep, not when the swift Achilles cut my husband down, not when he plundered the lordly Mynes city. Not even weep. No, again and again you vowed you'd make me godlike Achilles' lawful wedded wife. So now I mourn your death. I will never stop. You were always kind." What do you think of this? "Oh, Patroclus, best friend of the man who murdered my husband and killed my brothers and my father. I miss you so much because you were such a nice guy." Does it seem normal to you? It seemed normal to me. what kind of world is this? I keep asking it. What kind of world where if someone says, oh, don't cry, the man who just murdered your whole family, he'll take you home and he'll marry you. How how harsh must this world be if that's kindness? Very. It's an easy question, isn't it, Emily? Very harsh. That just, there's so much in this poem that makes me feel for these people. And then I hit a passage like that, and I think, wow, these people are very different from us. She's weeping over him. On the flip side, Patroclus was a really good guy. We know this. We know this from this passage. He can't stand. Think about it. She's nothing but a captive slave woman. You don't have to go to the captive slave woman and say, there now. It'll be okay. Dry your eyes. Better things will come. You can just say, deal with it. That's life. How did Patroclus react when he went off to the ships and found Machaon the healer? Remember, and he talked to Nestor, and then he came, and there was another guy, and he stopped, and he tended to his wounds. What did we learn about Patroclus? The guy said, oh, there's nobody to help me with my wounds, and the doctor's busy. And Patroclus says, oh, Achilles is waiting for me. Yet he stays and dresses his wounds. What kind of guy is Patroclus? Yes, this is not a hard question. Yes, it highlights that he's really kind. All right, I just threw that question in there because that story is so bizarre. Oh, when my family was dead, butchered by Achilles. All right. We have seen Paris put on his armor. And then he put on the greaves, and then he put on the helmet. We have seen Diomedes put on his armor. We saw Hera, and then she put on her earrings, and then she put on her veil, and then she put on her makeup and arming for battle. But now we get the one everyone's been waiting for. Like, there's been car chases in this movie, right? But this is the car chase. This is the one to end all car chases. And in their midst, the brilliant Achilles began to arm for battle. A sound of grinding came from the fighter's teeth. His eyes blazed forth in searing points of fire. Unbearable grief came surging through his heart. And now, bursting with rage, there's that rage, against the men of Troy, he donned Hephaestus' gifts. Magnificent armor, the god of fire forged with all his labor. And then it goes on for another page. First he wrapped his legs. He's getting ready. And as we mentioned before, he goes out and fills rivers with dead bodies. Now, what has Zeus ordered all the gods to do previously? You know, Hera kept rushing down, and then remember Poseidon was down there raging, and he said, Poseidon, stop it. What has been the order to the gods? Stay out of this. Stay out of this. Let them deal with it. Stop fighting each other. Stop fighting on either side. But suddenly, he changes the orders. Zeus says, down you go. Go to Trojans, go to Achaeans. Help either side as the fixed desire drives each god to act. If Achilles fights the Trojans, unopposed by us, not for a moment will they hold his breakneck force. Even before now, they'd shake to see him coming. Now, with his rage inflamed for his friend's death, I fear he'll raise the walls against the will of fate. Why do the gods need to go down and fight now?
Because Achilles is too strong. if anybody does.
Yeah. If the gods don't oppose Achilles, Achilles will just wipe them all out. That's how good he is now. So down come the gods. Listen to this description of the battle. Down from the high skies, the father of men and gods let loose tremendous thunder. From down below, Poseidon shook the boundless earth and towering heads of mountains. The whole world quaked. The slopes of Ida, with all her springs and all her peaks, and the walls of Troy, and all Achaea's ships. And terror-struck in the underworld, Hades, lord of the dead, cringed and sprang from his throne and screamed shrill, fearing the god who rocks the ground above his realm. Giant Poseidon would burst the earth wide open now and lay bare to mortal men and immortal gods at last the houses of the dead. So immense the clash as the war of gods erupted. Again, we talked about this before. Who's really fighting at Troy? Who's really at war here? The gods. And what do we do about that? I mean, if the gods decide to fight where you are, what do you do? I have no answer to that. Nothing. You suffer. You know, suddenly it flashed into my head. This isn't a very good example because they're not gods, but I'm thinking of stories in the Civil War where the battles were raging and then suddenly, you know, they converge on Gettysburg or something. You're just at a town. You're some American town and suddenly you realize, oh, crud, I'm living in the town where apparently the next battle of the Civil War is going to take place. Can you even imagine? But do you just go to the cellar and hide? Do you grab your stuff and run? But where do you run? But that's only human beings fighting in your vicinity. What if the gods are fighting in your vicinity? While the gods are fighting, Achilles encounters Aeneas, who is not one of the sons of Priam, but he's a cousin. He's related to the royal family. And Poseidon saves him. And the next question I asked you was, why does he save Aeneas, and what is his destiny? Yeah, Henley.
He's going to be the king of Troy, I think.
He's going to be a king. He's going to be a king over the Trojans that are left when this is done. He is destined not to die here. Let me read it. Why should it? I'm going to go back farther. Now I tell you, my heart aches for great Aeneas. He'll go down to the house of death this instant, overwhelmed by Achilles, all because he trusted the deadly archer's urgings. Apollo had just been there telling him, "Go for it, Aeneas, you can take him." Poor fool. As if Apollo would lift a hand to save him now from death, grim death. Aeneas the innocent. Why should Aeneas suffer here? For no good reason, embroiled in the quarrels of others, not his own. I would like to read those two lines again. Why should Aeneas suffer here? For no good reason, embroiled in the quarrels of others, not his own. Is Aeneas the only person that can apply to? How many people here are embroiled in the quarrels of others? Yeah. Would it be easier for me to ask you this? How many people are not embroiled in the quarrels of others here? Whose business is this really? Who does this really? Okay, Paris and Menelaus will grant Agamemnon, since he's the brother-in-law of Helen. Paris's family, because he's the one that did it. Does this whole event matter to anyone else, really? They're all embroiled in the quarrels of others, not their own. But Aeneas gets singled out, but there's a reason, as I said earlier. So come, let us rescue him from death ourselves, for fear the son of Cronus might just tower in rage if Achilles kills this man. He's destined to survive. Yes, so the generation of Dardanus will not perish. Dardanus is the founding father of Troy. Obliterated without an heir, without a trace. Dardanus, dearest to Zeus of all the sons that mortal women brought to birth for father. Now he has come to hate the generation of Priam, and now Aeneas will rule the men of Troy in power, his sons' sons, and the sons born in future years. Who are those people that Aeneas is going to rule over? The Trojans, certainly, Trojan refugees. The Romans. Aeneas is the founding father of, he's not the founder of Rome, that's Romulus and Remus, but he's the one who goes to Italy and founds the race that is going to give rise to Romulus and Remus. Now, the poem doesn't say that, obviously, because they had no idea that there was going to be a Rome. It doesn't even say where he's going to go. The Romans, however, grabbed that. Yes, he's our guy. We're actually Trojans. We're actually Trojans, say the Romans. Refugees. So another guy gets snatched out of the fighting. I'm not going to ask that question because it's too obvious, I was going to say. How do you feel if you're not one of the ones that gets snatched out of the fight? Obviously not good. In Book 20, finally, Hector and Achilles, they don't have their final showdown. They do very rapidly, but they see each other. It says he could bear no more, Hector, because he's just seen his brother speared to death. Wheeling off at a distance, shaking his whetted spear, he charged Achilles now, coming fierce as fire. But Achilles marked him quickly, and springing forth to take him, triumphed to himself. Here's the man who's raked my heart the most, who killed my cherished comrade. No more delay, dodging each other down the passageways of battle. Under his brows he glared at royal Hector, shouting, "Quick, charge me, the sooner to meet your death." All right, I'm going to stop. I want to read more of that, but I'm going to stop there. What is Hector wearing currently in this passage?
Achilles armor.
So, when Achilles looks at Hector, what's he see?
Himself.
His own clothes, his own armor. And listen to what he just said. Quick, charge me, the sooner to meet your death. Imagine, okay, he's saying that to Hector. Come on, Hector, bring it, bring it. You go down sooner. But it's himself, his own armor he's talking to. How could those words have a double meaning? Charge me, the sooner to meet your death. If he's talking to himself.
He kills Hector and he's gonna die in battle.
Yeah. He's rushing headlong to his own death. And he knows it. He knows it. It's himself. But, okay, let's take it a step further. Where was that armor the last time he saw it? Before now?
On Patroclus.
On Patroclus. So can you see how he must have been pulled in two directions? It's me. I'm bringing death to me. Oh, but that's the man. That's what Patroclus looked like just before I sent him. And he's raging all the more. Can you imagine? I mean, sometimes this happen. Can you think of a movie where somebody's wearing an emblem from someone and it just enrages them like plunder? I'm sure this must happen in westerns or something like that. You imagine the person who has, some of you read The Eagle of the Ninth with me. Remember? And the tribesman, the guy had his dad's ring, and how hard he had to hold it together as soon as you see the trinket that belongs to you or your loved one. But he was going to blow it up if he made a scene there, if you know that book and you know what I'm talking about. The emotions in Achilles when he sees that armor. All right. How? Oh, no, I said I wanted to keep reading. This is Hector's answer. But Hector, his helmet flashing, never flinched. Don't think for a moment, Achilles, son of Peleus, you can frighten me with words like a child, a fool. I'm an old hand myself at trading taunts and insults. Well, I know you are brave, and I am far weaker, true. But all lies in the lap of the great gods. Weaker I am, but I still might take your life with one hurl of a spear. My weapon can cut too. Long before now its point has found its mark. Which is a little dig, right? Oh, my spear's sharp too. I've killed a few people. Hint, hint, like your best friend. All lies in the lap of the great gods. If everything is fate and lies in the lap of the gods, we were talking earlier about, is this a hopeful thing? Well, it kind of depends on your position, doesn't it? Maybe if you feel like, well, I can't do anything about this. But what if you're the weaker one? Like, I may be weaker, but maybe the gods mean for me to win. Then I'm going to win. Unfortunately, Hector doesn't have the full story. He doesn't know he's been a pawn in all of this. All right, I'm going to skip. Yeah, I feel like we can skip over fighting the river. Just for time's constraints, we're going to skip that. How does Andromache learn that Hector has died?
She hears Hector's mother's
Screaming
and then goes and sees
women.
him dragged in the dirt.
And then she sees him being dragged in the dirt. It is awful. Before he goes to his death, Hector says this: no way out. If I slip inside the gates and walls, Polydamas will be the first to heap disgrace on me. He was the one who urged me to lead our Trojans back to Ilium just last night. The disastrous night Achilles rose in arms like a god. But did I give way? Not at all. And how much better it would have been. Now my army's ruined, thanks to my own reckless pride. I would die of shame to face the men of Troy, and the Trojan women trailing their long robes. Someone less of a man than I will say, our Hector, staking all on his own strength, he destroyed the army. So they will mutter. So now, better by far for me to stand up to Achilles, kill him, come home alive, or die at his hands in glory out before the walls. This is an opinion, do you like Hector as a person more than you like Achilles as a person? Or do you just dislike them both, or do you like them both equally? You like Achilles better, and why is this?
I feel like the Trojans are in the wrong here the whole time. And
Oh.
I like Achilles avenging and murdering everybody.
Okay, So you feel justice is on Achilles' side. Okay. This is a legitimate response. Is there anybody who likes Hector more? You just find him more likable in general. Justice aside. We have no team. You know, there's a place online and you can get mugs, Team Achilles and Team Hector. I need those mugs. I do need those mugs. A lot of modern people find the scene where he says goodbye to his family very moving. Could you understand that people might find that moving, even if you think justice is on Achilles' side? Okay, he's a man. He's got a family. He's trying to protect his parents. He's trying to protect his son, his baby son. So, you know, a lot of people tend to feel for him. I personally think Achilles gets a bad rap. First of all, because of justice. Second of all, because this was the ethic then. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, let me ask you this. Do you think Achilles and Hector seem like they operate under the same code? Does Hector seem softer? Does he seem just as harsh? I'm not sure how to ask this question exactly. Frankly, I expected some of you to like Hector. You threw me just a little bit, yes.
I kind of feel like Hector has more honor. Like, Achilles just is going off. Obviously, he has a good reason. You know, he's angry, but it seems a little over the top.
Achilles, I skipped over this, but I had to be able to find it really quick. Just a second. He says something. I wrote in the margin there, everyone must die. Yeah, he's got this guy who's begging. It's actually the son of Priam. He had captured this guy early in the war and sent him off as a slave, and then he got redeemed and came back, and he just came home yesterday or something, and now he's back again. And he said, "Oh, please, please, you can get more money. You can sell me." And he says, even Patroclus died, a far, far better man than you. And look, you see how handsome and powerful I am? The son of a great man, the mother who gave me life, a deathless goddess. But even for me, I tell you, death and the strong force of fate are waiting. There will come a dawn or a sunset or high noon when a man will take my life in battle too, flinging a spear perhaps or whipping a deadly arrow off his bow. We're all going to die. Just die now. I'll save you the trouble of waiting for it later. That's his attitude. But Hector seems to be fighting, I don't want them to get my family. But he says here, well, I can't go back in, I can't retreat. I can't go back inside the walls because they'll say, oh, Hector, he's the one who made the really bad call last night to not go back in and shut the gates. So it's his fault a bunch of people are dead, and here he comes cringing, running back in. That's shameful. I would be ashamed, he says. So I got two choices. I kill Achilles and win glory for myself, or he kills me and I go down in a blaze of glory. But both ways there's glory. You see, is it the same code that Achilles is operating in? What do you think the difference is, Miriam?
I feel like Hector has more of a reason to be the way that he is. Like, Achilles is just kind of angry, which does come from his grief, but still, I think it's over the top.
Yeah. Do you think that at this point, Achilles is operating more from that heroic, I want glory? Remember his talk to Patroclus. Don't do this, don't do that, Patroclus, or you will take away glory from me. Don't take any away of my glory. Do you think at this point he's even thinking about glory? Or do you think he's just pure rage?
Doesn't care if he gets glory or not.
It's quite possible. Hector's still operating. There's glory to be had here. There's glory to be lost or won. This is a hard question, and I'm not sure how I would answer it. Do you think Hector has any right to be angry? And with whom should he be angry if he does have a
I
right?
should be angry, but if I were him, I'd be angry at Paris, and that's really the only person I feel like you can feel angry at.
And or the leaders of Troy,
Yeah.
who when they said, "Look, let's just give her back, and give back the stuff, and give them back extra stuff to make up for it," and Paris says, "No, I won't do it." Could they have overruled him? I feel like maybe they could have.
It's not like Paris is king of Troy.
No.
More like he's even strong. He's like
Yeah.
anything.
What's he going to do? Fight them all to save Helen? This really hadn't occurred to me before, but Hector's really caught. Does he love his city? Does he love his country? Oh, absolutely. Loves his family, loves his country, but they've really done something unjust. They've allowed something unjust. I mean, this kind of speaks to the modern world a little bit, doesn't it? Because we have a contingent of people, how much you know about current events, that there's a lot of people who really kind of dislike America because America has done unjust things. But it's one thing to say there's been injustice, but it's another to say, but I love my country and I would defend it. I don't know. That's something for you guys to mull over, but I'm not sure what the answer is. I've always found Hector more complicated, but this time I read through it with you guys, I find Achilles complicated too. All right. What does Hector decide to do with, what does Achilles decide to do with Hector's body? Let's drag him around in the dirt from the back of the chariot. Before he does that, though, he calls up the other sons of Achaia, and it says, "And not a man came forward who did not stab his body." They all took turns stabbing. He's already dead. All right. They have a sporting event. I asked you what things are involved in the funeral rites. What sort of things do they do to honor Patroclus?
They got like chariot race and some javelin throwing, and fighting, battles. I think they have a foot race.
They did. There's sporting events, and you might, okay, odd, but this is a funeral. We have dinners and send flowers. They have sporting events, and I suppose there's something in that. Do you know? I might. We were talking about Achilles just pouring all his energy into his rage. Maybe you could pour your grief into activity. Maybe it'd be healthy. I don't know. Maybe we should start. No, nobody's going to go for that. So somebody does. Hey, why don't we have flag football tournament? Like, no, I don't think so. Some weird things happen in these sporting events, though. First of all, here I've got to move this till I need it because it's just driving me crazy that I can't see Liam, and I have to lean up. I will move it, or I'll move the camera later when I need that. Okay, so they're doing a chariot race, right? And you got to go and then turn around the turning point, and Idomeneus and Ajax start fighting over who's in front. I mean, fighting. One of them says, "Oh, I think it's Diomedes in front." Quick little Ajax rounded on him. "Loose talk, Idomeneus. Why are you always sounding off? You're a far cry from the youngest Argive here, and your eyes are not the sharpest scouts. But you're always blustering, you foul-mouthed." What? But the Cretan captain burst back in answer, "Ajax, champion wrangler in all the ranks, stupid too. First and last, the worst man in the Argive armies, stubborn bull-necked fool." And it says, the two of them might have come to blows. They're going to have a fist fight over who's in front because they're still distant enough they can't quite make it out. If Achilles himself had not stood up to calm them. Enough. No more trading stinging insults now, Ajax Idomeneus. It's offensive. This is not the time. Sit down in the ring, you two, and watch the horses. They'll be home in a moment. Then each can see for himself who comes in second, who takes first prize. Okay, that's the first weird thing. But then, so there's a, actually that wasn't the chariot race. What was that? Oh, no, it was the chariot race. All right, it's still the chariot race. And so Antilochus, who's Nestor's son, has cut someone off, right? He cut Menelaus off and almost made him wreck and got ahead of him. So they come in, and Achilles says to the last guy, he was in the front, but his chariot wrecked through no fault of his own. Oh, the best man drives his purebred team home last. Come, let's give him a prize. It's only right. But second prize, of course. Tydeus' son must carry off the first. Just saying this guy would have come in second if his chariot hadn't wrecked. But Antilochus, who did come in second because he cut Menelaus off, jumps to his feet. Achilles, I'll be furious if you carry out that plan. Do you really mean to strip me of my prize? Ooh, where have we heard that? And then in his same speech he says, I won't give up the mare. It's exactly what Agamemnon said. I won't give up the girl. Paris said it too. I won't give up the girl. The one who wants her, step this way and try. He'll have to fight me for her with his fists. He flared up, and the swift runner Achilles smiled. Delighting in Antilochus, he liked the man immensely. He answered him warmly, winged words. Antilochus, you want me to fetch an extra gift from my tents, a consolation prize for Eumelus? I'll be glad to do it. I'll give him the breastplate I took from Astropaeus. Okay. I won't give him the mare. I'll give him another prize. It's fine, Antilochus. Then Menelaus steps up and says, you better not give Antilochus the mare because Antilochus is a dirty, rotten scoundrel who ran me off the race course and made me lose. Antilochus came to his senses, backed off quickly. No more, please. I'm much younger than you are, Lord Menelaus. You're my senior. You're the greater man. You know the whims of youth break all the rules. Our wits are quicker than wind, our judgment just as flighty. Bear with me now. I'll give you this mare I won, of my own accord. And any finer trophy you'd ask from my own stores, I'd volunteer at once. Gladly, Atrides, my royal king. Anything but fall from your favor. Okay, first of all, in the fights that were breaking out, who was the peacemaker? Achilles. What in the world? And he sets a precedent. And then look what Antilochus says. Oh, yeah, okay, Menelaus, you're right. Good point. You're older than me. You deserve more honor. You take them. You're right. I've just lost my head there for a minute when we were racing, and I shouldn't have done that. See how rage has given birth to rage in this, but then peacemaking gives birth to peacemaking. If only everyone had acted like that at the beginning. In book 1, then it would have been a very short poem. But they didn't. So the games are over, but it says, actually, that's the first words of book 24, the games were over now. But Achilles kept on grieving for his friend, the memory burning on, and all subduing sleep could not take him. Not now. He turned and twisted side to side. The memories flooded over him, and now he'd lie on his side, now flat on his back, now face down. Then he'd leap to his feet, wander in anguish, aimless along the surf, and dawn on dawn, flaming over the sea and shore, would find him pacing. Then he'd yoke his racing team to the chariot harness, lash the corpse of Hector behind the car for dragging. and haul him 3 times round the dead Patroclus' tomb. And then he'd rest again in his tents and leave the body sprawled face down in the dust. Achilles got his revenge. Hector's dead. Patroclus has been duly honored. And does Achilles have peace now? Revenge didn't give him the peace he thought it was going to give him. He doesn't know what he needs. But apparently it's not this. And getting up early every morning and dragging Hector's body around isn't really doing it for him. He doesn't know what he needs, but the gods know something needs to change. This is the next question I asked you. Why does Priam go to Achilles, and how does he get there safely?
To get Hector's body.
And did he just come up with this idea himself?
No, he was told to go.
He was told to go by the gods, and how does he get there without just being...
Hermes protects him.
Hermes protects him. He's got the protection of the gods. He's got to go, and he's got to bring an end to it. He shields him. He does one of those things where no one can see you. And he walks into Achilles' tent, and it says, "The majestic king of Troy slipped past the rest, and kneeling down beside Achilles, clasped his knees and kissed his hands, those terrible man-killing hands that had slaughtered Priam's many sons in battle. Awesome. As when the grip of madness seizes one who murders a man in his own fatherland and flees abroad to foreign shores, to a wealthy noble host, and a sense of marvel runs through all who see him. So Achilles marveled, beholding majestic Priam." Listen to the simile. Just like when a man loses his head and he kills someone back in his home, and he runs away from his home, and he goes to his host who's going to protect him, and everyone in his host's house marvels. So Achilles marveled. In the simile, who's the man who's run away and gone to a host? Is it Achilles or Priam? It's Priam. And Achilles is the host. It's backwards. Achilles is the one who's done the murdering. So he comes and he begs for Hector's body, and he says, "Revere the gods, Achilles. Pity me in my own right. Remember your own father. I deserve more pity. I've endured what no one on earth has ever done before. I put to my lips the hands of the man who killed my son." Those words stirred within Achilles a deep desire to grieve for his own father. Taking the old man's hand, he gently moved him back. And overpowered by memory, both men gave way to grief. Priam wept freely for man-killing Hector, throbbing, crouching before Achilles' feet, as Achilles wept himself, now for his father, now for Patroclus once again. And their sobbing rose and fell throughout the house. And then Achilles says to Priam, "So the immortals spun our lives, that we wretched men, live on to bear such torments. The gods live free from sorrows. There are 2 great jars that stand on the floor of Zeus's halls and hold his gifts. Our miseries one, the other blessings. When Zeus, who loves the lightning, mixes gifts for man, now he meets with misfortune, now good times in turn. When Zeus dispenses gifts from the jar of sorrows only, he makes a man an outcast. So with my father Peleus. Sometimes Zeus gives just bad gifts out of the bad jar, and that man's wretched. Sometimes he mixes them, and now you're happy, now you're sad. What does Zeus never do, apparently? Only reach in the good jar. That never happens. So Achilles cries for Patroclus, he cries for his dad, because he knows and Priam doesn't. Achilles is never going to see his dad again. His dad will never see him again. He's going to die here. He's chosen the glory short life. He's gone out and killed Hector. His dad's going to die alone. Just like Priam. But this takes us back around full circle to the beginning. Is there hope in this war? It doesn't sound very hopeful because, and then they buried Hector, breaker of horses, and then the Trojan War is going to continue. But is there healing for the individual? Do you feel like Achilles has been healed in some way by just facing it and grieving?
A little bit.
A little bit. He's still going to die. His dad's going to be alone. His dad's never going to see him again. Can't change that. It's the way it is. But the best we can do is just face up to it, maybe. Is that a hopeful way to live?
A little bit.
A little bit. Is that the way we live as Christians? Is that the way we live? We just hope we can muddle through? No. The ultimate end is good. The end of the story is good. It's a winning story. And you know, for the Greeks, this is going to be a winning story, but not for Achilles. Why do you think people have been reading this for 2,500 years? Is there anything in it that you maybe not relate to, because this is kind of distant from our lives? I'm not battling people. I'm not raging in hate at anyone. Maybe in Lisa. Oh, there's a, hopefully not raging in hate. Let me ask it this way. Are human beings roughly the same sorts of creatures as they were then? Do they grieve? Do they rage? Is it sometimes hard to face what you have to mourn over? But when you do face it and mourn over it, you can move on. And there's a new day, and maybe the new day will be good, and maybe the new day will be bad. We are going to read the Odyssey next. The Odyssey is a much easier read. It's got a plot. This has a plot, but you know. It's got a very sustained, something's always happening sort of plot, unlike the Iliad sometimes. I want to do a couple of things with you. First, I want to talk about your list of reasons why or why not into where the camera will see it. Why or why not Agamemnon should have taken Briseis. If I turn it like that, though, you can't see. Luke. But if I turn it like this, Liam. Okay, can you kind of see? Can you see? Okay, we're good. All right. We have yeses. Maybe we have no's. And what I asked you to do this week, first of all, is just, did you come up with any more ideas, especially as you read? Because one of the things we were looking at is what does it cause? What happens next? And we saw further down the road what this causes. Does anybody have one that you would like to share? Yes, Liam.
This is a no one.
Okay.
Achilles kills lots of people afterwards for the grief, but he could have already had done that and kept a lot of lives for the Greeks by killing a lot of the Trojans if he had had his.
Oh, I see. So if Achilles, it was just really dark. If Achilles stayed fighting, he could have saved many Greek lives, should we say? Many Greek lives. And why? Because many Trojans would already be dead. Presumably, he would have taken out a lot of the enemy in the meantime. Okay. And so this is, depending on which side of this battle you're on, it would be a bummer that those Trojans would have been dead, but they're dead anyway later. So they were going to die one way or the other, but the Greeks would have been saved. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody come up with another one that we didn't come up with last week?
Oh, yes, as well.
Oh, lay it on me.
So, if Achilles hadn't lost Patroclus, he might not have been near as angry and killed near as many people.
Okay, so Achilles. I'm going to have to. How do these, when they go bad suddenly. Achilles' anger led to great Greek victories. Can we say it like that? Many Trojans killed. Do you understand what he means? It's the same. It's kind of the same event, but it's one where we can flip it. Where you can flip it, and this happens a lot when you get an idea doing this. You can flip it and say, how could that be a yes? How can that be a no? And keep that in mind when you're writing too, because you might have something on one side you could use for the other one. Yes. What'd you got?
Patroclus wouldn't have died.
Yes. So it's a no. Patroclus would still be alive. Presumably he's a good fighter. I can't picture Achilles' best friend not being a good fighter. They lost a good man. And would there be anything else good about Patroclus still being alive? I mean, it's good for
They might have fought
Patroclus.
together and the war could have been over sooner.
Okay, maybe A and P could have teamed up to end war quicker. Maybe, this is very conjectural, maybe Achilles wouldn't have to die. Because there wouldn't have been a avenging himself on Hector moment. Maybe they would have had Achilles longer. Maybe not. Maybe the fates weren't going to allow that either way. Unclear. Does anybody else have one they'd like to share? Does everybody have a pretty good, numerous list? Do you feel like you have quite a few? Here's what I want you to do this week. And all of you have done this except for Kinsley with me. And it's good to review. I want you to, can I erase this? I want you to arrange, this is the step of writing a paper called arrangement. Arrange this in an outline so that you have three, well, first of all, you have to pick a side. You have to pick a side and say, yes, he was completely justified and it was a good thing that he took that woman. Or no, that was awful, horrible, he should never have done that. I want you to solidly pick a side. And then I want you to pick three big reasons why this is so. And each of these should have three supports. And I'll show you or remind you what I mean. Okay, let's take a look at what we have written here. I'm going to argue no, just because that's what I've got on the board, okay? I'm going to look at this section right here. Say I want one of my reasons to be this. Oh, I don't think he should have taken the girl because Achilles and Patroclus could have teamed up and they could end the war quicker. That's a very minute, very specific. That's highly specific. What else am I going to say about that? I have nothing else to say about that. But a big reason is Patroclus would still be alive. And then you see, I can tell you three things that good about Patroclus still being alive. That's what I mean by big reason. Do you, Liam, just give me your outline. Your reasons, not your outline, your reasons. Okay, I wanted to look at what we wrote down because I couldn't remember what we. Okay, I wanted to look at the yeses.
So tell them.
Oh, we didn't get a lot of yeses, did we? So I kind of see which direction people are going to go. I want to get a yes, though. It's really hard. It's hard to. It's really hard to argue yes on that, isn't it? Oh, here, I've got one. So, before I write anything on the board, we'll say, okay, so Agamemnon is the king. And kings can do whatever they want. And it'll make him look bad in front of his troops if he's disobeyed. Maybe other people will be insubordinate. Maybe they'll be insubordinate in battle, and then more people will die because they're not obeying orders in a battle situation. And then they'll lose more people and they'll lose the war. Okay, so that's a bunch of reasons that I might jot down. Which of those, I'm sorry, that was just a bumbled, but which of those would be the biggest reason? He's the king. That would be a big reason. And then my small reasons would be people should obey kings. It sets a bad precedent when people don't obey kings. It'll make Agamemnon look bad in front of everybody, you see. But picking, it will make Agamemnon look bad if he doesn't. What else should I say about that? You see, so I like to call these umbrella reasons. They're big reasons, and they have lots of reasons underneath them. But little tiny minute reasons, they're not good to use for your umbrella reasons. What I'd like you to do is look on your list after you pick a side and try to find 3 umbrella reasons. 3 really big statements. And for a lot of them last week, we did. I tend to do this when we make notes. I've got a little, like this one has an umbrella and a baby one. If Achilles stayed fighting, he could have saved many Greek lives, and because many Trojans would have already been dead. And we only got one little support. That's what I want you to do. I want you to organize it. You're not writing this paper this week. All I want you to do is come up with 3 major umbrella reasons and see if you can come up with 3 supports, and they very likely are already written down on your paper somewhere. They might not be together. You also could look on the side you're not arguing and see if you can flip one of those, right, and use it somehow. Does that make sense to everybody? And I want you to bring the outline next week. If you have trouble, say, oh, I got a good umbrella reason here, but I can't think of a 3rd support. Well, then we'll brainstorm it together. We'll make sure that when everybody leaves next week, you have a full outline, and it'll be easy to write the paper. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, because that's really not a lot, I would like you to write one more summa for me. Don't do the other one. You will make me rage. No, you will not. All right. I would like you, this is, I don't even know what I'm going to get in response to this. Why do we not write epic poetry today? I just can't think of anybody who's writing epic poetry. You might tell me that you think we do have epics, they're just not in poetry form. If you think there are epic things being written, tell me about some of them. Maybe you could pick one and compare it to the Iliad and why you think it's epic. By epic, I mean on a very large scale and probably a long work of literature. And hint, hint, it could be multiple books. All right? But in general, we just don't see a lot of epic level, huge, long Crime and Punishment, except that wasn't even, that was short compared to some other Russian novels. All right? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to start the Odyssey, books 1 through 6. Don't pack your stuff up, because I do have something. I just saved it for the end because I wasn't sure I had time. Start the Odyssey. Is there anybody here? Do y'all know what the Odyssey is going to be about? Odysseus. Odysseus going home after the war. Odysseus, the guy we have met numerous times in the Iliad, the guy who is noted for being a fast talker, a good talker, a smooth talker, we would say. Odysseus, like all the rest of the Greeks, have to go home. Like all the rest of the Greeks who are still alive, have to go home after the war. And this is Odysseus's particular trip. It's not very smooth, as one can imagine, because it's another epic poem. Today we say, and we use the word Odyssey for any sort of trip. So the Odyssey car, you get in your Odyssey because you're going on a trip. I saw a bumper sticker on one that said, "My other car is an Iliad." It's really, really funny. And if I had an Odyssey, I would have to have that bumper sticker. So read books 1 through 6. There are some poems in the next thing and an outline. Just ignore them. Just answer them. We'll look at them next week, okay? Just ignore them and just answer the questions. Organize your thoughts into an outline and bring it to me. So I'm just going to inspect them here and then answer this question. Okay, the last thing I wanted to do, really, is tell you something because I think it's cool. The whole structure of the Iliad, maybe it seemed a little random to you. Did it seem a little rambly and rambling randomly through various topics? Okay. There is, let me give you this paper. Can you just, I don't know, just take one and pass it around. If we run out before we get to land. And go to the page, there's stuff on both sides, but stay on the page with the weird Greek word. That word is chiasmos. Chiasmos in Greek. And it means, it's based on this fact that this is the letter chi in Greek. And it means, I want to write that bigger, ideas in an inverted order, or organizing a sentence or a piece of literature so ideas are in inverted order. For example, here's a quote from Othello. By the way, Othello thinks his wife is cheating on him. That's what this is about. But oh, what damned minutes tells he o'er, who dotes yet doubts, suspects yet strong loves. Oh, what damned minutes he tells over. In other words, time seems so long. If you dote, which means you love someone, you dote but doubt, suspect but love. You dote but doubt, suspect but love. And look how it's arranged. Dote and love mean the same thing, and the doubt and suspect go together. The two things in the middle, the doubt, suspect, they go together, and the two things on the outside go together. Here's just another example. It is boring to eat, to sleep is fulfilling. The two things that are being compared, to eat, to sleep, in the middle, go together, and the boring, fulfilling go on the outside. Here's an example from Psalm 73:3. There are the words that are left out here. But the main text says, "For I envied the arrogant," that should be a B there, "the prosperity of the wicked I saw." You see, envied, saw, the two things I did, arrogant, the wicked in the middle. Do you get the idea? Okay, that's called a chiasmus, when things are not laid out in parallel. Okay, flip your paper. I think this is just way cool. The Iliad has a chiasmus structure. It has more than one. So up at the top, Look at book 1 and book 24, the two A's. In book A, a Trojan priest demands his daughter. He's not actually a Trojan priest, he's the priest of Apollo, but and an old man demands his daughter. Look what happens in book 24. An old man asks for his son. Look at book 2. They gather the armies together. Book 23. They gather the Greeks together for the funeral games. Book 3 has a duel, Paris versus Menelaus. Book 22 has a duel, Hector versus Achilles. Here. Sorry. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's organized. It seems just kind of weird. Oh, now we have another duel. Now we have this. It's actually organized. Now, look at book 1 versus book 24. Book 1 opens. There's one day where the priest makes his appeal, then it's followed by 9 days of plague. There's a council to decide what to do, and then there's 12 days of waiting. It says the gods are away from Olympus and they're waiting for the gods to get back. In book 24, it says for 12 days Achilles mourns and drags Hector's body around. Then on one day, they send Iris and Priam goes to get his body. He asks for 9 days to gather wood, and then 1 day for his funeral. It's almost like the end of the book undoes the beginning in the structure. And you know, isn't that kind of what we said? This book started with rage. And so at the beginning you say, oh, there's no Trojan horse. There's no what? It's because we're not bringing the war to an end. We're bringing Achilles' war to an end. Does that make sense? And finding him some peace so he can go on and live out the rest of his very short life that he's got left. And the structure undoes it in the numbers and everything. This amazes me. All right, I'll just throw that in at the end. I feel like I want to spend another half hour talking about that. But I don't have another half an hour. You got to go. I will shut this off.